Time now for our recruiting spotlight, and you probably saw this earlier this week on the 24/7 Sports YouTube channel. The number 4 quarterback in 2026 is off the board. Jared Curtis committing to Georgia on Monday, and there will inevitably be a domino effect to his pledge, which our guys will get into in a sec. But first, let's hear from the top player in the state of Tennessee as to why he picked the Dogs.
I would say my relationship with Coach Bobo and Coach Smart, it's just different. I feel like it's just the biggest family atmosphere out of both schools, and I'm grateful for it. And obviously, I had a really good connection with Oregon's coaches as well. But Georgia, I feel like Georgia got it done for sure.
How difficult was this for you down the stretch? I mean, there was a lot of chatter about, oh, he was a commit to Georgia, then Oregon took the lead. What was this last week or 2 weeks like for you behind the scenes?
It was a little stressful, but I got over it, and we got through it. So I'm excited to be where we're at and focus on high school now.
When you told your family last night and you let them know, A, how did you let them know? And then B, what was the reaction?
I just sent in the family group message, wear Georgia things tomorrow. And I told my dad right before I sent it to secretly record, and my mom broke into tears and she started crying.
Well, there you have it. Top 247 quarterback Jared Curtis committed to Georgia on Monday. We know there's going to be some QB dominoes falling after that. And the man I need to talk to you right now is 24/7 Sports National Analyst Brandon Huffman, because there is a guy out west that all eyes are on. Tell me the latest on five-star quarterback Ryder Lyons.
Yeah, well, the latest is that he's still determining 2 of his 5 remaining visits that he's going to take. He's already got visits set up for Oregon, USC, and BYU for the month of June. He was going to kind of whittle it down between Michigan and Ohio State. Obviously, Michigan got a quarterback, Ohio State. And the thing that makes it so intriguing about Ryder Lyons is that he is technically a 2027 recruit. So even with Jared Curtis's decision to go to Georgia, with Oregon ramping up, he's still a year away from there. With USC flipping Jonas Williams, he's still a year away from going there. BYU has a quarterback in this class in Cannell Sweetwine. He's still a year away. So he doesn't really impact the 2026 rankings, or I'm sorry, the 2026 class, but he certainly affects the 2026 rankings. And right now, here he is, the highest rated uncommitted quarterback in the 2026 class. And we still may be another 6 to 7 weeks away from a decision from Ryder, but he's also said he could do it at any time. So we're playing the waiting game. Is it going to be at any time, or is it going to be after those visits are done?
As soon as Curtis committed to Georgia, all the Oregon fans got fired up. Do you think that's a little premature? You were the first person to really hype up BYU and talk about how real they are as a threat. My crystal ball is on USC. I mean, are Oregon fans a little premature getting excited right now?
Yeah, absolutely, because there was a time where him and Oregon weren't even talking, and then Oregon kind of got back into it when Jonas Williams flipped from Oregon to USC, and largely because of his decision at that point to push his enrollment back to 2027. But it wasn't like Oregon has been out in front for a long time. They have not been. They've ramped it up because of their need for a quarterback in 2026. But again, he's not enrolling until 2027. So he's almost a year out from really impacting what that class could look like. They'll probably still need a 2026 quarterback, especially with Jaron Kelvin being the second quarterback they brought in and then transferring to Cal. So with Lyons, I still will not ignore what BYU's presence in this is. He is LDS. He is serving a 1-year LDS mission. Remember, USC too, his brother is still at USC. So there's still that connection with the Trojans. I have felt for the longest time that BYU is the biggest threat to kind of ramp it up what everybody thinks is an Oregon or USC battle. I'm not ignoring what BYU is doing in this recruitment.
And no question, BYU is going to have the best NIL offer and opportunity on the table for Ryder Lyons. Lyons, one of the best in California. Let's stay in California and talk about Mark Bowman, the number 1 tight end in the 2026 class. What's the latest on him?
Yeah, it seems like all eyes are pointing towards Texas with Mark Bowman. I was at Mater Dei on Monday morning as part of their national championship trophy presentation. And Johnny Nansen, Texas defensive coordinator, who has recruited the West Coast for Texas, for Arizona, for USC, UCLA, Washington. He was there at 7 a.m. at that practice. Now, granted, he is the co-DC, not the tight ends coach, but you can bet with his connections in Southern California, he wanted to make sure that he got that face time with Bowman. Texas is still there. Obviously, Georgia has been a factor in his recruitment for a long time. USC is also continuing to recruit him. They have had some success in the last couple of months with Mater Dei after a little bit of a dry spell for, what many people thought was the biggest pipeline in Southern California, Mater Dei to USC. Oregon kind of threw a wrench in that over the last few years, but with Tom flipping from Oregon to USC, and now the Trojans continuing to push for Mark Bowman, you can't ignore what they do, especially with Southern California, to Chad Bowden's arrival at USC. There's a renewed emphasis in Californians, but right now it's looking like Texas could be the team to beat for Bowman. And keep in mind, they already have a Mater Dei tight end on the roster right now in Spencer Shannon, who Bowman replaced.
I too like Texas. I think they're the team to beat. But man, USC, that new juice, that new energy, they are surging. Let's move on to Spring Valley, California. Mount Miguel, top 247 athlete, two-way guy, Brandon Arrington, fresh off that Penn State visit. How do you see this one unfolding?
Yeah, I mean, for the longest time, it felt like he was going to Texas A&M. It felt like the Aggies were way out in front. He had taken a number of visits during the season, during last summer, and it looked like Texas A&M was kind of the team to beat. He's narrowed it down to 5 schools. You got Alabama, Texas A&M, Penn State, Oregon, and USC. The one wild card in all this is the track aspect. Arrington is the fastest player in the state of California, the 100 and 200 meter champion in 2024 when he was a sophomore. Will probably win it again as a junior. Oregon has had a really good, successful run of getting those two sports standouts. But right now, Texas A&M still significantly a factor here, but Penn State, he had that visit there. And obviously the Nittany Lions have made a big impression there. But again, you cannot ignore USC. There has been a renewed ramp of pursuit of him since Bowden's arrival. And again, there tends to be a little bit of a, kind of a positive peer pressure. When you start to see a lot of the guys from your backyard committing to one school, and that school just happens to be in your backyard, then that sometimes makes them even more attractive than they would have been before. But this one does not look as much like a Texas A&M lock as it did months ago. The Aggies are still a factor, but these official hits are going to be significant for Brandon Arrington.
If USC can win some games this fall, it is going to be very interesting on the recruiting front. But let's leave California. Let's head to Fruitland, Idaho, and get the latest on top 247 offensive tackle Kelvin Obot. I know you're the man to know about this one.
Yeah, I made the trip out to Fruitland last week on a Monday. It's right on the Oregon and Idaho border on the Idaho side. And Obot just the week before had named a Final Five of Nebraska, Michigan, Oregon, USC, and Utah. When I had gone to the school, he had just gotten back the day before from USC. He was there for the Trojan Olympics. But the number one player in Idaho got offers from all over the country. And so he whittled it down to those 5 schools. He went to Michigan. That's the only place he hasn't been for a regular game, but he went there for a spring practice, raved about the time. He was at a visit for Nebraska for their junior day, went to a game there. Oregon, he's been to a game. He's been there for a visit. Utah is a little bit of a wild card here, and here's why. His head coach at Fruitland High School is Jordan Gross, who was an All-American for the Utes, a top 10 pick and a multiple-year Pro Bowler, played over 10 years in the NFL for the Carolina Panthers. He played at Utah. And so the Utes have long been a factor there, and I wouldn't call them just a school that's in his top 5. I think they're a legitimate threat for him. Oregon has also continued to recruit him. Oregon has had great success in Idaho in back-to-back years, signing Kenyon Sadiq and Gatlin Bear, who are the number 1 players in the state. And then USC again, having that impact on him on that unofficial visit. I have a feeling that he is going to stay out west, and I think it's going to be USC, Utah, or Oregon that are going to be the 3 he focuses on. But he did love the Michigan visit, and keep in mind, there was just the number 1 draft pick out of the first round from the state of Idaho in Colston Loveland just a couple weeks ago.
All right, let's head back to California and talk about Mark Bowman's teammate. We got 4-star edge rusher, linebacker, Shaun Scott. This recruitment, we've reported on USC 24/7 Sports how interesting this has gotten over the last couple weeks. Do you think USC can get this done when it comes to Shaun Scott?
I think so. And I think that they kind of just weathered the storm a little bit. They just kind of let him do his thing where he was visiting schools. Now, Mater Dei and USC didn't necessarily hit it off the other day when Caden Dixon-Wyatt announced for Ohio State, despite having USC in his final 6. But again, with Tom flipping from Oregon to USC, there's one defensive lineman there. Shaun Scott playing in that front 7. I know his good friend and teammate Nasir Wyatt signed with Oregon. Oregon had been a factor there, but right now it's trending back towards the Trojans. And again, could we be seeing that pipeline reestablishing with Mater Dei and with the Trojans? Shaun Scott could make it another player in the 2026 class. And again, one of the things that the players have been saying is that USC has said the best players in California stay home and play at USC. They have made that a huge emphasis and point of emphasis this offseason, and Shaun Scott could be the next Californian to stay home and play for the Trojans.
I couldn't agree more. I like USC to get that one done. Huff, you are the man, as always, the guy to know out west. I appreciate you.